read you the poem first. It's called The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles, mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop, you knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But, little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, one which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. I really love that poem so much. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's talking about perseverance. That to get through some things, you just have to keep going and never give up. What does it say to you guys? I'd love to know what you think. Okay, so I'm gonna have a go at reading this short story now. A had it read to me once before. Well, not exactly read to me, but it's a metaphor story, so I kind of got the idea of the metaphor. I hope you enjoy it. When I was about 6 or 7, my junior school deemed it necessary for us to torture sweet corn in order to learn about science. We were each given 6 tiny sweet corn seeds, 6 plastic drinking cups, some dark brown soil, and told to plant them as best we could. Then we were ordered to place the sweet corn into various environments. Some were kept near the old, cold and draughty windowsill, some in the darkness of the science cupboards, and some were denied water, and some even starved of minerals. I used to hate this, because I've always had this thing where I go around asking myself, how would I like that? My mother always used to say, do as you would be done by. And in truth, sad as it might be, the ones that were kept in the deep dark cupboard, the draughty cold windowsill, the ones denied of water, they gave me nightmares and sleepless nights. Still, you always have to do as you're told, and I did, the best that I could. When the time was up, we got them all out and lined them up on our desks to measure them, to see what the punishment and torture of these seeds was to teach us about science. I remember looking at them and thinking, if I was a visitor from outer space, I'd never believe they were the same kind of plant. I'd put them all into different categories. Some were so small, defenseless and fragile, like tiny ornamental blades. Others, pale, sickly and translucent, as though they were made of glass. There were in-between sizes, of course, and then the really big one, bright green, thick stem, 3 big lance-like leaves. It was full of life. When we had finished measuring and recording our results, the teacher passed black rubbish bags around to throw them into. I sat and stared as the rubbish bag got ever closer, was a silly thing, a childlike thing, but I must have hoped somewhere that once the experiment was over, they would all receive the light, nutrients, and warmth they so obviously needed. When the bag arrived, I couldn't put them in. I asked the teacher if I could take them home instead. He was more than a little surprised, and possibly confused, but couldn't find a reason to refuse me. So I got a white paper bag all of my own, so I could carry them the 3-mile journey back to my house. I cleared a small patch of weeds and planted them near the old sandpit in the back garden and watered them religiously for weeks. The summer holidays came, the days grew longer, and with my careful watering and the love of the sun beaming down onto their little green forms, I saw them grow. Sadly though, one of the sweet corn died. I guess it was the shock, going from cold to warm, and everything was too much for it. But the other 5 lived. They grew, and the weirdest thing was that after 4 weeks, you couldn't tell anymore which one had been which, because they were more or less of the same height, and of course, now they were all green and strong. I used to sit in the garden near the old sandpit and stare at them and wonder. It was not until years and years later that I actually realized that my views on genetics and nurturing were entirely formed that summer. That science class had shown us how easy it was to make cripples, with just the right kind of withholding, with the right kind of neglect. I know, though, that like me, you are a person that has also had the pleasure of discovering that hope, love, and nurturing can undo neglect so profoundly. So remember, always have hope. No matter the damage, you can always recover, I promise. When the world says, give up, hope whispers,